This is our third video for Chapter 2, Solving One-Step Equations. What you'll learn in this video is to solve equations by adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. And remember, an equation is a mathematical sentence with an equal sign. There are two things you need to be on the lookout for in this video, and those are the properties of equality, and there will be four of those, one for addition, one for subtraction, one for multiplication, and one for division, and also the definition of inverse operations. Be sure to pause the video when you see those and copy them into your notebook. Remember, when you're copying the properties of equality, those are key concept boxes, so that means you need to copy everything inside the box. If you can solve equations, you can use known information to find unknown information. To solve an equation, you want to get the variable alone on one side of the equation. You can use inverse operations, operations that undo each other, to get the variable alone. Addition and subtraction are inverse operations. You can use addition to undo subtraction and subtraction to undo addition. Pause the video and copy this key concept box into your notebook. These are the properties of equality for both addition and subtraction. And all that really means is what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So if you are moving addition from one side, on one side, you have to move it on the other side. Or if you're doing it for subtraction on one side, you have to do the subtraction on the other. That keeps the scale equal and the equation equal. Multiplication and division are also inverse operations. You can use division to undo multiplication and multiplication to undo division. Pause the video and copy this key concept box into your notebook. This is your multiplication property for equality. Pause the video and copy this key concept box into your notebook. This is the division property of equality. Now that you have all of your properties of equality copied into your notebook, let's look at some examples of using those properties. So let's say we want to solve x minus 34 equals negative 46. So we're going to look at our original equation, and our goal is always to get the variable by itself. So when we're doing these equations, I need to think, okay, what do I need to get away from the variable? Who's on the same side? So if I'm looking, the minus 34 is on the same side as the variable. So that's the one I have to move. So I have to undo or do the inverse operation of minus 34. So the opposite of minus 34 would be plus 34. So I'm going to add 34 to both sides. That leaves me with x plus 0 equals negative 12, and I can just get rid of the 0. So x equals negative 12. So we can go back and check our answer. So we're going to take that negative 12 and plug it back into our original equation. So negative 12 minus 34 equals negative 36. So we know if I have a negative, or I'm subtracting when there's a negative involved, I'm going to add a line and change the sign. So I really have negative 12 plus negative 34, so I know when they're both negative, I'm going to get a bigger negative. So negative 46 equals negative 46. We were correct. Pause the video and do this quick check in your notebook. Be sure to label it as quick checks, number it as number 1, write down the original equation, and show all your work. Just as addition undoes subtraction, subtraction can undo division or undo addition. So let's look at an example of solving equations by subtracting. Say your friend's mountain bike cost $245 more than his skateboard. So more than his skateboard. His mountain bike costs $290. So how much did your friend's skateboard cost? So first let's look at the words. So we have the cost of the bike is $245 more than the cost of the skateboard. So I know when I see is, it's the same as equals. So I'm going to let S equal the cost of the skateboard that I don't know. And so the cost of the bike is $290. The is equals the equal sign. Then 245 more, so plus, than the cost of the skateboard, S. So that gives me an equation of 290 equals 245 plus S. So 245, it doesn't have anything in front of it, so I know it's not negative, so I'm going to treat it like it's a plus there. So it's a positive 245. So to move plus or move addition, I do the opposite, which is subtraction or negative. So I'm going to subtract 245 from both sides. And that leaves me with S equals 45. So the skateboard cost $45. Pause the video and do this quick check in your notebook. Be sure to create an equation and then solve that equation. Now let's look at an example of solving equations with multiplication. So if my original equation is t over negative 45 equals negative 5. So to get that negative 45 away from the t, since it's on the bottom of the fraction, I know it's division, so the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply. Now let's look at an example of solving equations by multiplying. Say we want to solve t over negative 45 equals negative 5. I know when there's something that looks like a fraction, you treat it like division. So if I'm dividing t by negative 45, to move the negative 45, I have to multiply, because multiply is the opposite or the inverse operation of division. So I take my original equation and then multiply both sides by negative 45. So my 45s on this side will cancel each other out, and then I just need to do the math. So that leaves me with t equals 225. Pause the video and do this quick check in your notebook. Be sure to copy the original equation, show all your work, and check your answer. Now let's look at an example of solving equations by dividing. So if I want to solve 4p equals 22.68. So first I'm going to notice that p is being multiplied by 4, because I know when the number is right next to the variable, that means multiplication. So to undo multiplication, or do the opposite, or the inverse operation, is to do division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. The 4's with the p are going to cancel each other out, and then again we're just going to do the math. So 22.68 divided by 4 gets me 5.67. So let's go back and check to be sure, because decimals can sometimes be tricky. So if I take my original equation, replace the p with the 5.67 that we found, then I'm going to multiply 5.67 times 4. That does indeed get me 22.68, so my solution checks. Pause the video and do these quick checks in your notebook. Be sure to number the problems, solve each equation, and then show checking your answer. Now it's time to check your understanding. Be sure to label as check your understanding in your notebook, number all your problems, copy any original equations, show all your work, and check your work if requested. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.